Hey guys, Eddie back with Couch Talk. Welcome back to the show. If it's your first time here, welcome to the show. As always, guys, please hit like, please hit subscribe below. It's the only way I'm gonna break into this industry with the algorithm. Um, Guys, today we are gonna start talking about some really controversial stuff, and I'm gonna give you a stance that probably won't be very popular, and that's okay. We're gonna talk about abortion. And guys, understand when we talk about these controversial topics, I'm an extremely open-minded person, and I am constantly reevaluating my positions, and I'm constantly digging for new facts, anything that I might bring to bear on these topics. So, if you have facts that you'd like to share, please share them below. If you think that my facts are inaccurate, please cite your sources below and tell me why you think they're inaccurate. If you think that my facts are accurate but my conclusions are incorrect, I'd love to hear from you too. I understand that I'm doing this to open up dialogue, not to shut it down. So please, please share with me any of your opinions. I'd be delighted to hear them. So let's talk about abortion. Abortion, I think the whole pro-life versus pro-choice stance really stems from what we consider to be alive, right? So let's just cut to the chase. Let's take a look at the scientific definition. I'm going to read you the 7 characteristics of life. Cellular organization, the ability to reproduce or split if you're a cell, growth and development, energy use or consumption, homeostasis, which is like cell's ability to reach an equilibrium in and outside the cell, response to stimuli in the environment, and the ability to adapt. So that's it. Those are the characteristics that exhibit life. And guess what, guys? From the point of conception, a human embryo has all of them. All of them. That's it. That's the science. A human embryo is a living creature from the point of fertilization. Now, the next question would be, is it human? Is it unique? Well, this embryo has its own unique DNA, its own genetic code. It is not the genetic code of the mother. It's not the genetic code of the father. It is its own unique DNA. And in very short order, it has its own hands, its own feet, its own heart, its own brain, its own lungs. And I mean, by 10 weeks, it's basically looks like we do. It's just a little bit, very, very small. So this is absolutely its own entity, and the genetic code is human. I mean, we know we've tracked the genome, and we know what a human genome is, and this is a human DNA. So it's alive. It's its own entity. It's by itself, and it is human. Guys, that's a wrap in my book. That makes that creature a living human being. And to terminate a living human being intentionally is murder. Now, understand when I say that, I'm not judging everybody who's had an abortion. And I understand that there are very mitigating circumstances that come with many of these cases, right? And especially in the case of rape or incest, or especially if the mother's life is in danger. I 100% support a woman's ability to defend her own life in any case. Now, when I say that, keep in mind I would be incredibly impressed by a woman who selects her child's life over her own. I know I would give my life for my children in a heartbeat, but that's not a decision that I would ever dream of holding someone legally accountable for. And I've kind of modified my stance on the rape and incest cases, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, in the rape and incest cases, I used to be really hardcore pro-life. I used to be, no, I'm sorry, that's still murder. It is what it is. But I think I've adapted my mind on this, And I think that rape and incest, in the case of those situations, it would be a further attack to have to carry a child to term after being subjected to a situation in which you had no choice. And now keep in mind, in those cases, what I would recommend is the next day pill. I would recommend not ever letting a child actually metastasize. I would recommend not ever becoming pregnant in the first place. I don't think it would be right to think about it and stay on the fence for like 6-8 months and then terminate the pregnancy right before the child's born. That would make no sense to me. So if you're raped, that is a horrible thing. My heart goes out to you. Please, seek all the healing that you can. And if one of those forms of healing is to ensure that, you take the next day pill, I would be on board with that. But the vast majority of cases of abortion are really just abortions of convenience. It's trying to divorce the consequence of our actions with the action itself. And let's talk about that, because I hear a lot of women say, "Oh, you're forcing us to carry a baby. You're forcing us to carry to term." Well, let's be clear about the difference between actions and consequences, right? So, if in this case, a woman the action is getting pregnant in the first place. Now, the result is getting pregnant and having a baby. It'd be like if I went into a lion's den. I walked up to the lion's den. I walk up to the lion and I punch him in the face. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to get eaten. Now, I wouldn't sit there and tell the lion, "Oh, no, you're forcing me to be eaten." No, I made those choices. I made those choices that resulted in me getting eaten. I chose to walk into the lion's den. I chose to punch the lion in the face. Now, if I get eaten, that's on me. Same thing here, guys. If you choose to have sex and you choose not to use contraception, then you have chosen to get pregnant, probably. I mean, I don't know what the odds are. I don't know what the scientific percentages of pregnancy are, but that's a choice that you made freely. And I don't think anybody has sex and doesn't know that pregnancy is a possibility. So it is what it is, guys. I mean, that's you've made the choice. You have to deal with the consequences of your actions. And we should, as a moral compass in our society, we should stop trying to divorce our actions from their consequences, because that leads to us doing whatever the heck we want. I've heard the argument that a child isn't alive until it's viable outside the womb. Well, I don't think that this is a logically consistent argument, and here's why. If you are lucky enough to be born where I live in Durham, North Carolina, or 15 minutes from Duke Hospital, where you have state-of-the-art technology and some of the best physicians in the world, and you're rich, well, that child is incredibly viable very, very soon. Maybe, 4 months, 3 months even sometimes? I've seen some miracles. Now, if you are instead poor and live in the rural mountains of Tennessee, 5 hours from the nearest hospital, well, then your child is not very viable. So you may be 6-7 months pregnant before your child's actually viable outside the womb. So that's not fair. It's not fair for a child to be viable based on the geographic location on Earth. Nor is it logically consistent for a child to be viable whether it's 6 inches down the birth canal. So there's no way to legislate around that. From the point of conception to the point of death, humans exhibit a continuous stream of growth, development, and decay. That's just the nature of our bodies. And there's no point along that way where we can go, aha, that is where the human starts being alive. No, the only place where we can actually do that consistently is at conception. And guys, please understand, I think that the men need to be held responsible for their actions too. It takes two to tango, as my grandmother used to say. And, it drives me crazy where women get into situations where they have to, have a baby, and then the man disappears. I think that's terrible also. So keep in mind, I believe that the man needs to be held accountable for their actions as well, and needs to take care of that child, regardless of whether or not they still have a good relationship with the mother. Okay, so let's talk about. I want to read something for you, something I put together, and it's a bunch of situations where I would ask you to listen to these situations, listen to these life scenarios, and think about whether or not, if you're a pro-choice person, think about whether or not you would have an abortion in this situation, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So, all right. So, first case, it's a teenager, single mother, father's not around, and she lives in a rural area, very, very poor. She knows she probably won't have money to support the kid. As a matter of fact, she believes that she wouldn't even have money for clothes. She probably would have to use potato sacks for dresses. In her situation where there's a lot of crime and no support system, it's likely that this child will suffer from molestation and incest and predatory sexual behavior. Would you have an abortion in that situation? Just think about it for a minute. The second situation, as a seventh child, and six of the previous six children, 5 of those children died in infancy. In a very poor family, a family of musicians, in a non-popular musical style. Would you have an abortion in that situation? The last one is mother is very, very poor. Matter of fact, she doesn't even have a place to stay. Immensely poor. Father isn't around to help out. And as a matter of fact, the mother isn't even able to enter the workforce. And she lives in a society where even having the child could lead to her being killed as punishment, because it's a very puritanical society, and to have a kid out of wedlock could mean her death. Would you have an abortion in that case? If you aborted the first kid, you aborted Oprah Winfrey, one of the most prolific philanthropists ever to live. If you aborted the second child, you aborted Mozart, someone who's had more influence on the musical world than anyone else on earth. And if you aborted the third child, you aborted Jesus Christ. So think about that as you make your decisions going forward, because you could be depriving the world of incredible influence, of amazing help, lights to guide all mankind. As I close, I want to bring us all back in together to the one thing that connects us all regarding this topic, to the one thing that we can all agree on and that we were all fortunate of, and that is, thank God we weren't aborted. I'll catch y'all next time.